would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which I live and work, the Gundungurra land, and people. I pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. I also want to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands on which you, our listeners, are joining us from today. I recognise the deep connection that First Nations people have to this land, their enduring culture, and their commitment to the preservation and care for their country. This land was never ceded, and it always was and always will be Aboriginal land. Hey there, and welcome to Beyond the Surface, the podcast where we explore the stories of people who have survived religious trauma, left high control or cult communities, and are deconstructing their faith. I'm your host, Sam, and each week I'll talk with individuals who have taken the brave step to start shifting their beliefs that might have once controlled and defined their lives. Join us as we dig into their experiences, the challenges they've faced, and the insights they've gained. Whether you're on a similar journey or you're just curious about these powerful stories, you're in the right place. This is Beyond the Surface. Hello and welcome to another bonus episode of Beyond the Surface. Today I am joined again by Jane Kennedy. Welcome, Jane.
Thanks. Good to be here.
I think this is like our fourth recording now. I think we did your episode, my episode, the collective, and now this one.
And we did the bonus one on that awful show that I always forget the
Oh,
name of.
Prosper.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
So this is your fifth time. Gosh,
Yes.
you must, do you feel like a podcast pro now?
I'm practically your co-host.
Right. It is, yeah, I completely forgot about the Prosper episode.
Yeah,
Gosh.
I've blocked it out.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I keep seeing articles about season 2 for that.
Oh God.
We are not here to talk about Prosper,
Ooh.
even though like that could very derail the conversation. We're here to talk about Christmas.
Yes.
Fun. Christmas is a time post-church or post-deconstruction or during deconstruction, wherever you land. And we are going to chat about how to be okay over Christmas and how to survive Christmas because it can feel like a lot. So I thought we would start with a little bit of like a personal, what is Christmas for us? What was Christmas? What is Christmas now? So what was Christmas like for you during church time, Jane?
Gosh. I was reflecting on this because at the ripe old age of I think almost 13, I gave my life to Jesus on the 22nd of December, 1984. So, it was always a very special time, my sort of anniversary of getting saved. And I didn't come from a Christian family. And so that was kind of exciting to be part of all of the celebration and all of the color and joy with my church community. But I was actually thinking about that particular night in 1984, and it was the church that I was part of. There's probably only, I don't know, 100 people there at that point, and it went on to become a mega church. And so it's hilarious now looking back and remembering all of the kind of key pastors and key players who were there right at the start doing their goofy dances. And we had like a big carols in the park. And I think that one of the things that really even drew me in then was that carols that were so familiar to me were like being played with a band, and it was kind of cool, and there was young people there, and it was all very exciting. So yeah, it was a really special time for me growing up for that reason, but also just because I don't know, the church that I was a part of every year had a Christmas spectacular. And so I got to be in that, and I got to be part of that. And that was just so exciting. You know, like it was the place where you could invite your friends, and it was just a vibe. And yeah, and as I say, like my home wasn't a Christian home. I was the only child of a single mother, you know, so it was quite a small affair. So yeah, being part of that kind of bigger church environment, that church community where it was celebrated and it was it was big, was just, it was really special to me. And even now, like there's some carols and things that can be super triggering, but
Yeah.
even now there's some really beautiful, like Oh Holy Night, like still gets me, you know.
Yeah.
That could still bring a bit of a tear to my eye.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's reflecting back on all of that is like all of this whole experience is, it comes with mixed emotions for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm,
I think one of the things that will probably be a recurring thing is that both of us didn't come from Christian homes, and I think that that
mm,
actually influences how Christmas was and how Christmas is now.
mm.
I was I remember feeling like I was in on something that my family was not at
Yeah.
Christmas. Like I had like the trade secrets at Christmas.
Hmm.
We would decorate the house and it kind of looked a little bit like a Christmas shop. It was that decorated. And my biggest thing was that I really wanted to have like we had wall decals and everything, but on my bedroom door, I would always have like the don't forget the Christ in Christmas.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
right.
Hmm.
Because like I had the trade secrets in the family and I needed to
Hmm.
ensure that like it wasn't all like Santa and reindeers
Mm. Jesus
and
is the reason for the season. Mm.
yes,
Yeah.
and so like I remember, but also like Christmas was exhausting because
Yeah.
like at church, it's just like everything is in overdrive at
Mm.
Christmas. We didn't have a spectacular, but we did have a Christmas show or a carols night, and um, when you're a part of the worship team, you and leading youth group, you kind of are like doing double the amount of work. So it was
Mm.
just like exhausting as well.
Hmm.
What is Christmas like for you now? How has it evolved over time?
Yeah, it's funny because it was an evolution. It didn't kind of
Mm,
go from all of that to it being quite different. But I think it's now very much about family. Like
mm,
it's about my kids, it's about my best friends, it's about spending
mm.
time with them and their kids, and it's food. You know, like food is such a big part of it for me. That, and for me that is that's creative, and that is like tactile and regulating it. Making food for me is not well, during the week it is, but like, making beautiful food
Yeah,
is part of wellness for me. Like it's a really it's a really creative, really lovely creative outlet for me. So Christmas is fun like that. So I think the traditions that my kids remember, that my friends remember, is, yeah, it's about those kind of anchors, those touchstones of things that you do every year. But
mm,
it is a lot. I've learnt over the years to take the pressure off it.
yeah,
So it's just a couple of days,
mm,
and it can feel like this massive thing because literally, like, the as soon as you get over Halloween, the Christmas decorations are everywhere.
yeah,
And it feels like it drags on forever, but it's just a couple of days.
mm,
And then in Australia it's summer, and so
yeah.
there's a lot of kind of lying around, and if I'm lucky, I can go to the beach, I can have a swim, I can eat
Yeah.
mangoes.
It's too
Yeah.
hot to do anything else,
Yeah,
to be
that's right. Read a
fair.
book. So I've now learned to associate it with kind of rest and downtime
Yes.
and just
Yeah.
connecting with people. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and we're recording this at the beginning of November, and I think we've had Christmas decorations out for about 3 weeks already, in like at least
Yeah, they
like
are around.
locally. And
Mm,
and it's kind of like it's such a juxtaposition to see Christmas
mm,
decorations next to Halloween decorations,
hmm.
especially because in Australia we don't really do
Yeah.
Halloween all that much. And so it's just such a weird juxtaposition.
Mm,
But yeah, I think for me also, it's just a time, it's downtime now. Like
mm,
Christmas is like downtime. It's watching cheesy, Christmas rom-com movies as opposed to
mm.
ones about the nativity. And
That's it.
my movie structure has changed on the
Yes.
my decorations have changed. I have embraced the Grinch, which I would never have done, 5 or 6 years ago.
Mm,
Not because I am a Grinch, but just because like it's not Jesus. And so like it would never have been um
mm,
a part of it. And it's I think coming back to like the fun and playfulness that you can have
mm,
at Christmas because there is such color and wonder that can happen, and it's supposed to be a time of joy. Um,
Mm,
but it used to be a time of pressure and expectation. And so it's, I think, finding the playfulness and the joy. I still find Christmas carols difficult sometimes,
mm.
particularly like Oh Holy Night is one that I struggle with,
Oh,
particularly,
really?
yeah, because it was my favorite.
Mm.
And I have a particular person who used to sing it at your spectaculars,
Yeah.
who I have like see it in my brain, and I think it's just it's triggering former memories and things like that.
Yeah.
There are other carols that like mean nothing. Like ironically, like Silent Night means nothing to me, but there are other ones that are much
Mm,
more difficult. But I think it's just it's not about not being triggered, and we'll probably talk a little bit about that. Like, your nervous system, it's not about not being triggered, it's about being able to navigate those triggers. Because, you know, that song will never not have memories attached to it.
mm,
It's not about that. But yeah, I mean, one of the first things that I had planned for us to chat about was triggers and like what people might be experiencing and how they can perhaps prepare for those triggers that they might not necessarily even be aware of
mm.
being there. What comes to mind?
I think kind of being able to identify ahead of time what they are likely to be
Yeah,
can
yeah.
be helpful because then you don't feel quite as blindsided.
Mhm.
So kind of, and everyone's situation obviously is going to be really different depending on, what they're planning to do and the complexities of it. But I think kind of knowing what your tender spots are likely to be is really important. And then just nurturing that, it's the classic thing that, as therapists, we find ourselves saying all the time with people like, I feel like this, what do I need next?
Mm.
I can't avoid the trigger and I'm
Yep.
feeling that, in my body, I'm feeling shaky, I'm feeling teary, I'm, whatever it is, what
Mm.
do I need next? And having the thing that you need next ready to go.
Yeah.
Whether that's actually just leaving a room or saying no to, an event or, I mean, I know people that just go overseas at Christmas time just to avoid the whole thing,
Yeah.
or just, I don't know, just planning to do things differently or having an off ramp ready
Mm.
to go if you need to just exit the building.
Mhm.
Whatever it is, being aware of it and knowing how to soothe yourself through that.
Yeah. And I
Mm.
think not comparing your triggers to other people as
Yeah,
well is really important, because what is
yeah,
going to trigger one person is not necessarily going to for somebody else.
yeah.
um, is also really important. And also not beating yourself up about the fact that like, or maybe I should be triggered by this. Like if I'm not, like, is there
Yeah,
something wrong with me? But
go with it.
actually, just like we love that, just go with that.
Mm,
And it's not about, I mean, we talk a lot about as therapists not comparing traumas. Let's not also compare triggers, right?
mm,
Because what is triggering for one is not necessarily going to be for the other. I mean, like Oh Holy Night is a perfect example, right? Like you still hear that and there's warmth and there's like beauty in that. I hear that and I go, oh fuck. Like, so
get
like
me out of
it's
here.
yeah. So it's just like, something as simple as like a song
Mm.
might be a lot for one person, but not another. Um,
And I think the intensity that can come with some of these at this time of year is real because we're tired. Our
yes.
resilience is already low. We're super busy. Those of us with kids are running around trying to sort of make magic, and like trying to make everything right for our families. Others of us are, already anticipating the ache of maybe loneliness or
Mhm.
disconnection, or like we're already feeling a bit wobbly, I think. It's already time that we naturally want to rest. And so it's okay to, like, we don't have to muscle or push through. And I
Mm.
think that, particularly with so much going on in the world at the moment, it's really easy to minimize and go, well, other people have it so much worse. I should just toughen up. But
Mm.
you're allowed to feel what you're feeling, like drop into your body and just, bring compassion to that, and it tends to shift it.
Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. And I think that's probably a nice little segue into like the fact that loneliness and isolation is something that a lot of people,
Mm.
particularly those who might be post-church or who have had to, whether by choice or otherwise, disconnect from their
Mm.
family and then from their community. And so isolation and loneliness are very, very real and present
Mm-hmm.
experiences for a lot of people over Christmas.
Mm.
And it's not easy
Mm-mm.
to be disconnected at any time of the year, but it's really not easy at a time where we are supposed to feel connected. Christmas
Yeah.
is, even in, non-religious circles, it's a time of
Yeah.
family and a time of gathering and a time of all of
Mm-hmm.
these really beautiful language. And it can feel really lonely if you don't get to gather with the people that you would like to be gathering with.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's finding places where you belong,
Mm.
even if that's one person,
Yeah.
and even if they're not in the same suburb, like just finding connection and
Hmm.
and places and spaces where you belong, where you are celebrated in some way.
Yeah.
And I think that's also another really important thing to have ready to go
Mm.
before you get there.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Mm.
virtual connection is still connection. I think
Absolutely.
that's a
Yeah.
really important thing. I think we're so used to, um, hearing that we need to be in the same room, like that we've got to gather
Mm.
together. And so I think it's easy for us to think that, well, we don't have anyone in our immediate reach, in the immediate
Mm.
town that we might be in. But virtual connection is still connection.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that that's really important. One of the things that I actually just thought of as like in terms of navigating triggers, and this might just be like my generation, but I would encourage people to steer clear of Facebook memories.
Hmm.
Um, because I don't know about you, but like Christmas was a time, like, social media preaching was a thing, and like social media evangelizing was a thing.
Ooh.
And I am already seeing like I'm a chronic checker of my Facebook memories because like I also really love seeing, the photos and the
Yeah.
things that I actually do like to remember. Um, but it's one of those things where as it gets closer to Christmas, I'm very conscious that the things that I would have written were very different.
Mm.
That I would have changed my cover photos and images to being ones of, Christmas themed and evangelistic and all of that sort of thing. And so, if Facebook memories are a thing in your world, I would encourage you to go
Heads up.
gently with them or steer
Yeah.
clear of them altogether if you can. Particularly, as the days inch closer to Christmas, because sometimes it can be sobering and great for us to realize how far we've come, and other times it can be overwhelming for us to remember who we were.
Mm.
And Facebook memories tend to do that.
Yes, they do.
Good old social media where we tracked everything, right?
Yes.
Do you not have that, Jane?
No, I do. I
Oh,
do
you
have that.
do. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
But particularly because in the early days, I was so prolific on social media,
mm,
particularly Facebook.
yeah.
And now I hardly ever check Facebook. But sometimes, it does, or it'll pop into your messenger or something like, oh, look, here's this memory. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah. It's a
yeah.
lot, right?
Mm.
Yeah. What other than virtual connection, if we sort of circle back to that isolation and loneliness, what would you suggest for people who are feeling perhaps isolated and maybe their disconnection from the people around them was not by their choice? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's really hard, isn't it? Like I think you have to find support somewhere. You got to find, as I say, like even one person,
Mm.
who you can connect with in some way, even if it feels
Mm.
superficial and not, what you're really craving.
Yeah.
Um, I know Brene Brown says that if you go around the world, this is not exactly, but if you go around go around the world looking for reasons why you don't belong, you'll always find it.
Mm.
And so I think it's being careful not to do that, but
Yeah.
instead to do the opposite, and try to find places where you can belong, even if that's just one relationship, one connection, and trying to find the courage, I guess, to reach out to
Mm.
people,
Mm.
and just go, can we catch up for whatever it is, or yeah, just connect in any way you can, and I think, as I said before, like, just try to take the pressure off. It is
Mm.
just a couple of days. It's a few public holidays.
Yeah.
You can get through it. Um, but yeah, connect however you can. Just reach
Mm.
out however you can. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think sometimes, and I'm conscious that in some areas of this won't necessarily be as prominent as others, but if you're in a space where you can volunteer and go out and be with
Mm.
other people who are,
Yep.
also feeling, potentially isolated or lonely for a vast variety of different reasons, right? Like they might not necessarily be the same scenario, but loneliness is loneliness, and the antidote to that is connection. And so,
Yeah.
if you do find yourself feeling lonely, sometimes going out and just connecting with other random people in that scenario.
Mm.
If, there are often, I know that we, like in our town, and I know that in lots of different towns, there are often like community Christmas lunches and things
Mm.
like that where generally people gather and
Mm.
they might not know one another, but it's just being in the presence of other people that can make us feel even just marginally less alone in that
Yeah.
moment on that, like on actual Christmas Day when it feels probably the heaviest.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
there are, yeah, and I think I find that um, if I'm feeling something in particular, often giving and giving that to other people can be really helpful in terms of if I'm feeling lonely, let's find other people who are. Let's, either
Mm.
volunteer or go to a community lunch or something like that where um, you're not the only person.
Mm.
And I think so often, particularly in this space, it can feel like we're the only people who are in
Yeah.
space, but we're not. And yeah, find
I think, sorry, I was going to say, I think be careful, like, or be mindful also of your self-talk in that,
X.
like that it's not a reflection on who you are. It's not a reflection on your worthiness or your value.
Yeah.
It's just a reflection of your circumstances.
Mm.
Um, and they can change.
Yeah, I mean, I think at any time where there are feelings of isolation or disconnection or loneliness, it's easy to think that we're the problem.
Yeah.
And we get into a cycle and a spiral of negative self-talk.
Mm.
Um, but separating I mean, this is like the premise of narrative therapy, which is, the problem is the problem, the person is never the problem. And
Hmm.
so it's coming back to, like you said, that it's the circumstances that are the problem or the circumstances that are what is being experienced. But your worth, your value, your inherent goodness doesn't change based on those circumstances.
Yeah.
Um, and that's not easy. That negative self-talk cycle is not easy to get out of, but
Mm.
the more that we can be aware as to whether it's happening or not, the more ability we have to understand it and to respond to it compassionately rather than
Yeah.
going, oh, you're in a negative self-talk cycle. Like, gosh, like suck it up, get out of it. Like, let's like not hit the negative self-talk with more
Mm.
negativity.
Yeah.
Let's like respond to the negative self-talk with some compassion and some
Mm.
understanding, as opposed to any sort of like gross negative bypassing bullshit, because that's not fun. And that's not
No.
also, it's also not helping anything. In terms of, I guess, navigating, we talked a little bit about, different triggers and that everybody is going to be triggered by something different. But in terms of actually um, navigating in the moment, if I'm triggered by something, um, what can people do?
Yeah, I mean, I think bringing awareness, as we were saying, to what your triggers are likely to be. And so I think that's the doing a bit of nervous system 101, kind of going, what happens when I'm kind of that activating energy of a trigger happens? Do I go into fight? Like, do I want to punch someone? Do I want to run? Or do I freeze up? Or do I try to kind of flatter my way out of, a situation? Like, what am I actually doing? And we all do all of those things, I think, but noticing what we tend towards, I think, is really important, and going, how can I support or complete that cycle, that activating cycle in my body? So noticing, oh, I'm feeling triggered. What do I need next? But also, what is happening in my body? If I want to run, can I, even if I can't actually run, can I kind of pull my hands together like a fist and well, you can't see me, but I'm kind of pretending to run underneath the desk,
Yeah.
like you can kind of get your feet going, get your legs going. Can you get up and walk around the block? If you feel yourself frozen, can you really gently kind of just stroke your arm or your face or your head, or just kind of bring softness and gentleness to that freeze? If you feel like you want to fight, like, can you, literally just kind of push against a wall, or can you get a pillow to smack down on? Like, just noticing what your body wants to do in that somatic or that embodied kind of reaction, because a trigger or an emotion of any sort is just an emotional sensation.
Yeah.
It's not just an emotional sensation, but it's nothing more kind of powerful than that, if you know what I mean. Like, it's
Yeah.
not something that we don't necessarily have agency over. So I think bringing awareness and compassion to what you need in that moment, and going with that as best you can. If you can't do anything in the moment, like if you have to sit through something, or if you can't leave a situation, as soon as you can, then tend to it. Just because you kind of come out of the situation, you go, well, I feel okay now.
Yeah.
I think it's really important to still give your body what you needed in that moment. So I feel like I didn't have a voice. I feel like I clammed up, I froze, I didn't respond in the way that I did. So then give yourself that opportunity. Like, even if you walk around the block and talk to yourself, like, you can replay, you can say what you wanted to say. You can express what you need to express, and maybe you need to go for a run. Maybe you need to kind of go for a swim, or like do something that gets your heart rate up. But I think it's important to tend to our triggers and not to minimize them. But the first step is always awareness. What's actually happening in my body?
Yeah.
Is that instant headache behind my eyes, or that shakiness, or the increased heart rate, or the need to kind of throw up or something? Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
My instinct always, when I notice a trigger, is my hand comes to my chest. It's like it's always, before I even realized that's what I was doing, I was trying to support myself. And so I think notice the ways in which your body is both telling you what's going on, but also wants to be a resource for you to support the impact of that trigger.
Yeah. I think it's when I'm often talking about listening to your body with my clients, I'm often going, sometimes we think that listening is like a cognitive
Mm.
thing still, right? Because like we
Mm-hmm.
think about listening as like a cognitive thing. We're
It
listening to
is.
someone
Yeah.
else. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I will often sort of go, um, sometimes noticing is good
Mm.
language because it moves us out of listening with our ears and feeling with our body. And so, like, what am
Mm-hmm.
I noticing? Like, what sensations am I noticing? And rather than like we can us like, the emotion is important, obviously. That's what, we're not saying the emotion doesn't matter. The emotion absolutely matters, but the emotion is manifesting as sensation in our
Hmm.
bodies. And so, it sounds, my clients sometimes think I'm insane because like they might go like my shoulder blades are really tense or tight. And I go, well, if your shoulder blades could talk, what might they ask for right now? And so it's like rather it sort of gets us out of our head as to like what do I need, but like what does my body need? And that's the essence of like listening to what our body needs in the moment. But I think, if the word listen doesn't work for you, shift it and change it to something else, change it to noticing, change it to, bringing awareness to your body or whatever it is. But it's often we can feel regulated in the moment by responding to what our body is doing as opposed to just going like a cognitive, this is what's happened, this is how I'm feeling, this is what I need to do. Like that's a very like um I was gonna say it's very like CBT approach, but it's just like a very it's structured and some people respond to structure and that's great, but it's just about what does my body need in this moment and responding to that. Um, and I think having like really like it doesn't have to be anything huge. It doesn't have to be, something that takes a lot of effort. Sometimes it can be walking into the bathroom and just like running your hands
Yeah.
under cold water and just like nobody needs to know that that's what you're doing
Mm.
because you're in the bathroom. But sometimes it's going outside and just taking a couple of deep breaths. Like it doesn't have to be anything huge or fancy. It's just signaling to your body that you're aware of what's happening and
That's
you're
good.
trying to respond to it.
Yeah, you're okay.
Yeah.
And you can't, further to your CBT comment, you can't outthink a trigger,
Yes.
like you can't out rationalize a trigger. You
Yeah.
can't sort of, and I feel like we can use our minds as a resource once we have dropped into our bodies.
Mm.
I think that that's so much more possible once we've been able to connect with what's going on with our bodies. The other thing that is interesting is that the alert system of the brain is our sense of smell
Mm.
has a direct line to the alert system of the brain. It just goes straight there. So
Mhm.
anything that is, I've got like so many of these little oils and things around.
Yeah.
This one says, "Be gentle with yourself,"
Oh,
but
lovely.
it's a beautiful. Oh, so I'm smelling that now, and I'm just
Yeah.
instantly relaxed. No, but I
Yeah.
think we know what the smells are that like, and particularly around this time of year, one that is beautiful for me is fresh pine.
Yeah.
Like with the Christmas tree, and so
Yeah.
that's beautiful. If you're in an awkward family situation and there's a fresh tree in the living room, just go and put your face in it and take a deep breath. Like,
Yeah.
but having something in your handbag or close that you can smell can instantly ground you and just bring yourself back to the present, and
Yeah.
that can help bypass the trigger. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, if there is like an element of like you have some sort of ability or control around the way that the day goes or the way that those days go, food is another big smell
Mm.
as well.
Mm-hmm.
And, for me, food is not associated with like church Christmas. It's associated with family Christmas for me, which
Mm.
is a much more safer space.
Mm.
So if you have the ability to bake or to cook or something
Yeah.
and you are able to do that, the aroma of food just fills a space.
Yeah.
And that's not that can sometimes be a really grounding thing to do. I mean, as well as like you said, like there is, you know, a regulating aspect to even just like the actual process of
Mm.
baking or cooking or whatever it is.
Mm.
But yeah, the aroma of food can be if it can be a safe space for us. If it's not, don't do that, obviously. Um, but it can be. The
Mm.
apple pie is just like wholesome for
Mm.
me. So,
And it can be part of creating your own new rituals as well.
yes.
You know, like
Yeah.
I never had cinnamon scrolls growing up, but
Yeah.
you know, like maybe that could be something that you could learn to make, you know, like it's
Mhm.
just, I don't know, I think creating your own new
Yeah.
rituals is a really important part of a turn towards something new, not just a turn away from.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
And I mean, and we will talk a little bit about new rituals in a bit, I suspect. But in terms of like offering yourself support and compassion and love in that regulatory sense, I'd love you to tell everybody about havening.
Love to talk about havening. How long have you got? Havening is such a beautiful psychosensory psychotherapy. That is, it works in a similar way to EMDR for trauma reprocessing and desensitizing. But the four movements associated with it are actually beautiful grounding tools just in and of themselves. And before I take clients down the sort of trauma processing road, we always just start with getting used to the exercises as grounding tools. And for me, I do them every day just as part of well-being. For me, it's like just drinking water or brushing my teeth, or, you know, like they're just a couple of minutes is all you need. Actually, 30 seconds is all you need with the brain imaging to see a shift in you know, reactivity if you are triggered or heightened. But they create these beautiful movements, create what we kind of call like a safety soup in the brain. So they're releasing oxytocin, they're releasing those beautiful delta waves that are present when we sleep, and so they're taking us into this place where the brain is able to calm down, basically. And so it signals safety to the body, it signals safety to the nervous system, and so where we can find ourselves becoming heightened. And whenever you feel your body bracing, like your shoulders are up near your ears, or you're kind of not really breathing deeply, you know, you're kind of pulling yourself in. And, you know, maybe it is with those sore shoulder blades you mentioned before, or your neck hurts, or you're getting headaches or whatever. That's your body bracing against something. Like you're literally kind of going, whoa, what's about to come at me? And so bringing kind of awareness, observing all of that, and then being able to go, I can actually signal safety to my body so that it can start to just loosen the grip. You know, the brace can kind of relax a little bit. It can help us sleep. It can help in the moment when you feel heightened and triggered. It can help you before you're about to go into a stressful situation, and certainly helps recover from something that felt big or overstimulating. So I'll just do, it's tricky when we're in a podcast, but we'll just do two.
Yeah.
And the first one is just really simply just rubbing your hands together like you were, you know, maybe washing them under a tap, but maybe a little bit slower than that, or even kind of the action of putting hand cream on. So maybe like put a timer on for 30 seconds and just see how that feels. And sometimes in between clients, I will do this for 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. And it just helps ground me, just helps me come back to the present. It just feels really nice.
Yeah.
And you're literally just telling your brain, you're telling your nervous system, we're good, we're okay, we're safe right now. And because my body is so used to these movements as grounding movements, look at me, I start to sway when I do it as well. But already, like even after a few seconds, I can already feel my body just starting to relax because it's so used to that connection. This is what we do to ground and to calm. So that's the first one. The second one is you cross your arms over your chest, and so your fingers are at the top of your shoulders. And then it's just a downward stroke to your elbow, and then kind of like flicking away. So just downward strokes. And this, I think, is my favorite one. A lot of my clients really love this one as well, particularly those that don't get a lot of touch. It's a really beautiful. I get goosebumps. I love it. I get tingles. It's just beautiful. But yeah, again, 30 seconds up to sort of, you know, when we go through the trauma processing with these movements, you're here for 20 minutes and it just feels beautiful. But you can do it for as long as you like. People do this before they sleep at night. or just to kind of, you know, become grounded and settled before something big. So really, really simple, and it always is the really simple things. You know, it's not usually. Often we feel like when we have a really big reaction or an emotion or something feels really big and overwhelming, we feel like we need a really big intervention.
Mm.
But usually, we just need something small, something simple, something accessible, something that we can do right now. And these are two really, really beautiful resources
Yeah.
that just help the nervous system go, yep, we're okay, we're good, we got this, we're safe. We're not running from a tiger right now. So yeah.
Not yet, anyway. The thing that I love about the first one is that it's so it's almost so small that like other people would not even notice that
No,
you're doing
I
it,
do it
which
in
is
public.
I
Yep.
love that.
Yeah.
I love the stuff that you can do that you can just do whenever you need to, irrespective of
Mm.
people noticing or
Yep.
seeing. And yeah, and even just like adding a hand cream adds like extra sensory
Mm. Yeah.
elements to that. And particularly for those who identify as female, that's like a very normal, natural thing to do,
Yep.
right? Is to put hand cream on. And so it's like it's such a simple thing that nobody is going to think any otherwise are as to like what the fuck is she doing or what the fuck
Mm-hmm.
are they doing? And so I love that. I love those little
Mm.
things that, you don't have to take yourself away to do. You can
Yeah.
just do it in the moment and
You can
people
do
are
it.
going to
I have clients
notice.
that do the hand one under the
And
table if they're in a
yeah,
Zoom meeting at work,
yes.
you know, like just to calm themselves down. And if you want to take it a step further, I think as part of the sort of preparation for this season that is going to be, you know, feel big and triggering, you can even create kind of sayings or mantras to go with these exercises. So my go-to always is right now, in this moment, I'm okay. It has a bit of a rhythm to it, like a heartbeat.
Mhm.
Right now, in this moment, I'm okay. And
Yeah.
I talk to myself like that. But if it's a specific thing, like I think, you know, talking about boundaries with family and friends around this time as well, it's safe to disappoint people, you know.
Yes.
So even if you're trying to, you're feeling like I have to make a phone call to tell someone that I can't come to this event, and you know you're already panicking about it, you can do these exercises and take some deep breaths and just go, it's actually safe for me to disappoint people.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's
Mm.
okay to be misunderstood. I
Yeah.
can handle it. You know, so find some, I guess, supportive or resourcing words to go with the actions as well, and that can help kind of connect the association between the safety of something that, you know, it doesn't always feel safe, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Absolutely.
Mm.
And I mean, and it's using language that feels right for you because like
Yeah.
sometimes you hear affirmations or mantras and you go, that's just like really fluffy for me. And
That's,
it's like,
yeah,
yeah,
bizarre.
and
Yeah.
and sometimes fluffy is nice. Like one of my favorites is like hand on heart, I'm safe, I'm loved, I'm well. Like it's so
Mm,
simple, but it's
mm,
really beautiful. And sometimes I go, I am allowed to say fucking no, right? Like
mm-hmm,
maybe that's my mantra for that
mm,
day,
mm,
and that's what I need to signal to my body. And so sometimes we like things that are nice and fluffy and warm and beautiful, and other times we want it to have a sense of power and authority, like
mm.
self-authority and empowerment
Stamp your
as
feet.
well. Yeah,
Clap your hands. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, okay, let's talk about boundaries because I love boundaries, love talking about them. My favorite saying for my clients know, like well, one of is no is a complete sentence, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's my favorite thing. Um, we don't need to have a reason outside of that, but boundaries are hard.
Terrifying.
Yeah, boundaries is,
Terrifying.
yeah,
Especially for sweet little
absolutely.
Christian girl, like people pleasers. Like, come on.
Yes. And also, like, and I mean, I want to sidestep that as well. It's not just sweet little Christian girls, but just like, you know, any
I was
person
talking
in
about
Christian
myself, but
circles.
yes.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. But It's just, as Christians, you are not taught to put your needs
Mm.
ahead of anything, essentially. But like your needs, I mean, we in my home church, my former home church, gosh, I always catch myself doing that. It's so fucking weird. In my former home church, we had banners at the front, like life is not about you, right? It was like literally there for me to see. Life is not about you, but all about
Ooh,
Jesus and his heart for humanity. Although they were really good at the first banner, not so good at the second banner.
does
Um,
humanity not include me?
yes, I
Apparently not.
know.
Anyway, we won't go there.
But like, so you're just not taught to like even acknowledge that you have needs, let alone honor them. And so I think, particularly if you are, this is probably, particularly for those who are still connected, who are still going to, family Christmas, or, I have some people who still, who sit through and suffer through Christmas
Mm.
church and things like that. And so, in terms of boundaries, what are your top tips, Jane?
Yeah, this is something I'm so great at. I no, I have become so much better.
Yeah.
I've had to learn that it is that boundaries by definition keep me kind of in a place that is right for me or safe for me, and they are going to piss people off.
Yeah.
So that's why you have to create that connection to safety, that it's okay to disappoint people. It's
Mhm.
okay to be misunderstood,
Yeah.
because your boundary will necessarily make other people disappointed, uncomfortable. There'll be a whole reaction that comes, and sometimes that's like, oh, okay, well, let's see you another time. Or sometimes that can be nasty, like sometimes the consequences can be
Yeah.
really difficult to cope with.
Yeah.
And they can be part of relationships that are really fraught as well. So I
Mm.
think just bringing a lot of care to knowing what is right for you,
Mm.
knowing that you actually don't have to go to places where you are not, where you don't feel okay.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to go, you don't have to be there.
Mm.
Um, and it's okay for others to handle their own reactions to that. And that's actually not your responsibility. So I think, oh, but I'm going to make them feel bad, or they put so much work in, or they really wanted to see me, or, anytime you're acting out of obligation,
Mm.
you're masking,
Yeah.
and there's times obviously where we have to do things that feel uncomfortable, and you can sort of push through something that is important enough, like where that it actually you've thought it through, and being there out, and the discomfort from being there outweighs. It depends on the situation. And
Yeah.
sometimes you go, actually, no, I just need to be there, and I'll just suck it up and it'll be okay. But
Mm.
think that through,
Yes.
because you are actually allowed to go, no, I don't want to be there.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't have to go. So
Yeah.
I think it's figuring out, like we said at the start of the conversation, how does my body react?
Mm.
What are the sensations that happen when I'm triggered? What is my body wanting to do? Do I want to run? Do I freeze up? Like, what is going on in my body? Who are the people and the places? Where are the places where that happens?
Mm.
What is the external and the internal stimulus that it happens when I am noticing those reactions,
Mm.
and basically what's the, like, weigh up the cost, you know.
Yeah.
So is it worth it? And I think the other thing that is super important for me when I do have to kind of mask a little bit and push a little bit, do something that is important for me to do but I don't 100% want to do, you have to factor in recovery time.
Yes.
So you got to give yourself a couple of, whatever it is, days, hours, whatever, to be able to go, I'm just going to go and collapse in a corner somewhere the
Mm.
next day to recover from the way I needed to extend myself there.
Mm.
Um, and that may be worth it because you want to be with your kids, or you want to be with, like you want to be with people that are important to you, but it's in an environment that doesn't necessarily feel safe. So there's just so many variables. And I think it's important to know the way that your body is communicating with you and becoming aware of that. And then listening, doing what's right for you and your body um, in that situation. And if you need to talk it through with someone, do that.
Yeah.
Like just go, does this sound a bit crazy? Like, what do you think? Like, would it be fatal if I didn't go to this thing? Like,
Yeah.
would that be okay? Because sometimes I think we can also just make things bigger in our heads than they actually are. Um, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I think if you are going to go to the thing, whatever the thing is, because you've deemed it worth the risk or worth the
Mm,
discomfort or worth whatever it is, it doesn't mean that you can't still have boundaries within that, right?
yeah,
So, like you
absolutely.
can go
Yeah.
to the thing, but it doesn't mean that you have to talk about all of your life
Mm-mm,
with these people, right? So, like,
mm-mm.
it might be I mean, Jane and I would use like parts language in our work. And so I'm going to like use that a little bit here, which is that like we all have like an analytical part that, in this moment we can appeal to that and go, what am I comfortable talking about and what am I not comfortable talking about?
Yeah.
And potentially even coming up with stock standard phrases
Hmm.
or statements that if somebody brings up church or brings up your job or, your family or whatever it is, the thing that you don't want to talk about, it's Christmas. Let's not talk about that. Like whatever it is in language that feels comfortable for you, whether it be my natural personality is to use humor, which is like, it's Christmas Day. Let's not talk about work. Let's not talk about whatever it is and use it to deflect to start talking about something else. But
Mm,
it might be very, straight to the point of, I don't really feel comfortable talking about that. Let's talk about this
mm,
instead.
mm.
But just because you're choosing to go to the thing doesn't necessarily mean that your boundaries have to go out the window with that decision.
Yeah.
You can have boundaries within that. And
And practice that stuff, as you say, before you go. Like, I'm
yes.
just going to stop you there. Oh, I think my phone's ringing. Oh
Hmm.
gosh, I'm just going to duck to the bathroom. Like
Yes.
just have those things ready. And
Hmm.
yeah, you don't owe anyone anything.
Yeah. And I
Mm,
think, that you don't owe them anything is a really good um thing to remember if you choose not to go to the thing, right?
mm,
Like, we've been
mm,
talking about, what it's like to go, but you also don't have to. And
mhm,
I I think something that I want to highlight here is also if you are someone who is in a queer relationship and your family doesn't accept your partner and doesn't want your
mm.
partner to go or to attend family Christmas, you are allowed to not go. You do not
Absolutely.
need to um like you do not need to suffer through that. You are allowed to be like, you know what? If I'm happy to come to family Christmas with the stipulation that your partner comes also, right? Like you do
Hmm.
not need to do the thing if they are not creating a safe environment from the get-go and
Yeah,
and rejecting who you love in that moment is not creating a safe environment from the get-go, and you don't owe them your presence if they won't have both of your presences. Um,
absolutely.
because that is, a very real experience for a lot of people out there. So I just want to acknowledge that, you don't have to meet them with anything if they're not going to meet you with safety.
Yep.
So, um, yeah. And I mean, coming back to like what I had said, which is that no is a complete sentence and you don't actually have to explain yourself to people.
Mm,
And particularly those who were socialized as female growing up, we have a chronic ability to apologize at the beginning of every sentence. And actually, you don't have to apologize.
hmm.
And sometimes offering, you might actually want to see these people, but maybe you don't want to go to church with them, or maybe you don't want to do the family Christmas. And so it can be helpful to, not just acknowledge what you don't want to do, but what you do want to do. And so you might go, look, I don't really feel comfortable coming to church, but flick me a message when you get home and I'd love to pop around and see you guys
Mm,
afterwards. And so it's honoring what you want and also what you don't want in the same sentence.
mm,
Um, because, it's also it's important to acknowledge that you don't just, not everybody cuts people off and not everybody is disconnected, and some people don't want that, and that's also
mm,
okay. Uh,
mm.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, boundaries are fun. I mean,
Yep.
by fun, I mean they're not fun, but
Hmm.
I mean, like, I think it's also, you sort of highlighted it at the beginning when talking about boundaries, which is that actually boundaries are not about other people, they're for you, right? Like,
Hmm.
they're to keep you safe. They're to honor what you want, what you need, and what expectations you have. And so, to circle back to what Jane said, which is, if your boundaries create discomfort or disappointment for the other person, that's okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to manage their discomfort. Your
Hmm.
boundaries are for you, not for them. It's just about finding ways to communicate those boundaries to other people. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about some fun stuff, which is like redefining Christmas and creating new traditions. What's a fun new tradition you've created?
Um, I think it's just like I was saying about the smell of the pine tree. Like I've always, um, yeah, I've always made a bit of a kind of ritual around that, like
Yeah.
having it like the prettiest lights and
Mm.
just trying to create a really beautiful environment, even if it's really simple.
Mm.
Even if there was only lights on the tree and nothing else. But I don't know, like there's always, photos of my kids that they made in preschool at Christmas time that come out on a decoration and, the baubles and trying to keep the cats off the tree and, all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. But I think those things are grounding,
Yeah.
and the smell that does connect me to my childhood Christmases, which weren't super happy themselves, but there's a tenderness for
Mm.
that that little girl that connected to the sort of excitement and the smell of the tree when I was little as something that sort of disrupted some of the other stuff that was going on at home. So that in a way that's a lovely connection to that younger version of me who
Yeah.
now gets to kind of play with all of this and create my own thing. Um, and yeah, and as I said before, I guess it's around food and the stuff that that my kids like every year and going to Christmas Day is always with my best friend and her family, and my kids come along and we just do ridiculous things. And there's like stupid bingo presents and loud music, and always too much food and just
Yeah.
lots of raucousness and silliness. And but that also is relatively recent. Like I'd say maybe even well, probably 10 years actually. But I don't know, like that. There was a time where that was recreated into a new tradition because I was letting go of other traditions. But I think in terms of just the faith element, um, one of the things that I still do now, I think, is taking some time to reflect.
Yeah.
So even if it's reflecting on my year or
Mm.
reflecting on some gratitude,
Yeah.
which always kind of gets me a little bit. It feels a bit cheesy, but
Yeah.
but it is a powerful thing. It really is. Like I don't
Yeah.
need an actual gratitude journal, but I can be grateful and think about the areas where I'm actually really proud of myself for things that I've done throughout the year, or ways that I've grown, or things that were hard that I came through, or um, things I'm just super grateful for.
Mm.
People in my life, and that's actually really lovely grounding exercise.
Yeah.
So whereas before that gratitude might have been around, all of the language that I don't need to kind of go into it and trigger everybody anew, but the way
Yeah.
that we would have framed Christmas before, it's still a lovely exercise to stop and kind of do that in a different way.
Yeah.
Um, and and even actually, I remember when I was kind of going from, I spent many years going from Christian to progressive Christian. There was many years in that space, and some of the beautiful contemplative
Yeah.
practices around the imagery, the metaphor
Mm.
of the Christ child, and in that carol, you know, the thrill of hope, the weary world rejoices. You know, like there's so much weariness,
Yeah.
and being able to spark some hope as a, you know, something that happens in the rhythm of a year in darkness. You know, like bringing some of that imagery was
Yeah.
quite beautiful.
Mm.
So I think engage with it wherever you're at, you know, wherever you can. But I
Mm.
think it's a lovely opportunity to pause and reflect in whatever way is meaningful for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me it's a little bit of redefining, but it's also reclaiming as well. And I
Mm,
think, you know, if this is your first podcast episode of mine that you've listened to, you won't know this, but in a lot of my other episodes, I like to ask people what brings them joy and peace because they're words
mm,
that I think um, we sometimes think that the church owns or Christianity owns,
no,
but
let's keep
actually
them.
they don't. Spoiler.
Yeah.
Joy and peace is found everywhere and in a
Mm,
lot of places. And so I think it's been around sort of like reclaiming some of that language that I would have used as very, you know, Christian church
mm,
language around joy and peace, but actually finding what a little bit of like a reflection as well as to like what has brought me joy and peace this year, like
mm,
what um not just like what lessons have I learned, but what have I loved this year.
mm,
And and so, but it's also about sort of like redefining what Christmas means for me. And
mm,
often, you know, it would have, you know, meant the obvious. But but now it's very much about simplicity and slowing down. And so I reflect that now even in the way that I decorate our house. If, you know, last year I didn't even decorate at all. I was like, no, I don't want to, and that's okay.
mm,
This year, like there is plans to decorate, but you know, it's Christmas decorating before was chaotic and there was something
mm.
everywhere and there was color everywhere. And as much as like I, you know, like Jane loves color, I love monochromatic. But you know, like previously, like there was the Christmas is colorful and Christmas has got to be
Mm,
colorful and but actually it doesn't. Christmas can be whatever the heck you want.
mhm,
And so like neutral colors and you know not having the obligatory nativity scene out because you
mm,
feel like you have to, and actually choosing to not do that can be a way to redefine what Christmas is for you. Um,
mm,
and yeah, and just like you know, having the ability to slow down and not have a list as long as your arm of plans and events and things that you need to go to because you know you've got to go to all of the carols and you've got to go to you know all of the things and all of the events and all of the Christmas parties and so yeah, I think for me it's just been about redefining what I want Christmas to look like.
mm,
And also it's okay if you don't know what that is yet, also.
mm,
And what you want Christmas to look like this year might not be next year, right? And so
mhm,
that's also okay. And like you sort of said at the beginning, you know, it will feel a little bit like an evolution of, you know, it will change over time. But yeah, I think also, you know, like I said, I've got my house is like full of Grinch stuff this year. For any of my clients who come in person, I'll do some like photos and stuff as well for online. But like I've embraced the playfulness of the
Yeah,
Grinch
that's so important.
because yeah,
Yeah.
because like it doesn't have to be heavy. Like Christmas was
Mm,
always like, even though like it was a time of joy and gratitude and thankfulness, it still had a heaviness and an expectation and a weight to
intensity.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's just, you know, if you have kids, look at your kids in the way that they
Mm,
see the wonder of Christmas and the color and the, you know, all of that. And redefine what do I want? Even you might just even go, what do I want Christmas to look like this year? Like it
mhm,
doesn't, not everything has to have a grand, huge purpose. We don't always need to be thinking like, you know, 5 or 10 years down the track. but it might just be, what do we want for Christmas this year? Uh,
Mm.
and make that the focus, and then you can tackle Christmas next year, right?
Yep, that's it. And I think
Oh,
also just as we wrap up, I guess, like
yeah.
I just in thinking through all of this and in kind of reflecting on all of this, you know, knowing we were going to have this conversation today,
Mm.
I'm okay now.
Yeah.
You know, I had a lot of years where there was deep, deep grief for
Yep.
me around this and where I was being triggered every which way. And there was tears, there was reactivity, there was exhaustion, there was sadness, there
Mm.
was where do I belong? Where do I fit? Who are my people? What am I doing over this time?
Mm.
There's a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
Where is my place in the world? You know, like just feeling dislocated, all that kind of thing that can feel really overwhelming and scary.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm okay now, you know,
Yeah.
and I think that the more that we allow ourselves space to feel what we feel,
Yeah.
to bring kindness and compassion to that experience, to connect as much as we can with other people, um, or people who love us, you know, like people, we can just connect with people who are for us. Over time, you know, we can heal. And I think that there's things that will always, you know, be difficult in terms of memories or things. Obviously, we can't undo particularly events or having lost people or whatever it is. But I think like you can get to a point where you can approach a season like Christmas with all of its complexity and just go, I'm okay. You
Yeah.
know, like it might be tricky at times, but I know how to just drop into myself and find the resources that I need because everything we need is within us,
Yeah.
you know, to be okay. So it's possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean,
Mm.
just sort of like a full circle back to, I think, what we sort of said at the beginning, which is, avoiding the triggers or not having the triggers is not the goal. The goal
Mm-hmm.
is just being able to navigate what comes up for
Yeah.
you when it comes up, and being
Mm.
able to have the awareness to reflect and think about, what might be difficult, what might happen, what I might be feeling, and
Mm.
allow yourself to be able to put some stuff in place to look after you during that
Yeah.
time. A healed nervous system is not one that is never triggered. It's one
Yeah.
that can navigate the triggers as they arise. And
And your capacity expands as you
yeah,
do that, so
absolutely.
that the intensity or the impact of it isn't as great over
Yeah,
time. So
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
it's good.
But yeah, I mean, like, this episode was how to be okay over Christmas, which is, the reality of the reason why we talk about that is because you can be okay over Christmas.
Mm.
And
Mm.
so, wherever you are at, um, whether you are where Jane is and is okay at Christmas, or you're at the very beginning and you're not okay at Christmas, there is the capacity and the ability to be okay over Christmas.
Mm.
And that's really what we wanted people to be able to.
Mm.
I mean, usually I end with like a word of encouragement or a message of encouragement at these end of these episodes. And I'm now sort of going, I didn't really come up with anything. So I'm gonna like wing it off the top of my head, which is like, um, what's your favorite recipe for people to do? Like what's your food recommendation, Jane, for people to have
Oh
over Christmas?
gosh. Oh, I have so many.
Yeah, I've
I
literally
think
just put you on the spot because I
yeah,
made
I
it
have
up.
so many. But you know what's a really, really simple one that anybody could do
Yeah.
is get a loaf tin, like as if you were going to make banana bread or something. Put like baking paper or foil or something in there. Actually, no, cling wrap is the
Right.
easiest. Melt some chocolate, pop
Mm.
some cranberries, pistachios, ginger in there, and then melt the chocolate at the top, stick it in the freezer, chop it up. You've got like Christmas bark.
Oh,
Easy.
love that.
Maybe some nuts, you know,
Yeah,
like other nuts if you're feeling fancy
some
or
coconut.
anything you
Yeah,
like, really.
yeah.
Freeze dried raspberries, you know. Here, look, here's a plate of Christmas bark.
Yes, I love that. And I mean, to be fair, anything with chocolate is good. Chocolate makes
Yeah.
everything better. I think I am probably going to go with something a little bit more traditional in the sense that like we have it every Christmas and I can't imagine a Christmas without it. Which is just like the good old-fashioned lemon meringue pie.
Oh,
Which
yeah.
like I don't know if international listeners will even really know what that is, but like because I've only ever heard Australians talk about it.
Yeah.
Um, but it's like
Good
this.
old pavlova.
Oh, yes, yeah, pavlova
Yeah.
is always good.
Mm.
But I think anything like with fresh fruit, and that might be
Yeah.
like an Australian
Summer
thing because
fruit.
we're obviously in
Oh,
summer.
yeah.
And so
Mangoes,
my
passion fruit.
yeah,
Yum.
my American and UK listeners are not going to be vibing with that, but here in Australia and New Zealand, anything with fresh fruit is always going to be good. But yeah. Well, on that yummy note, because like what better way to end an episode than with food?
Mm-mm.
Um, Thank you for joining me yet again.
Pleasure.
It's always a good conversation. I never quite know where the conversation is going to go, and
Yeah.
that's kind of the best kind, which is great. And with that, I hope everybody has like a restful and
Mm.
a slow Christmas.
Yeah, be kind to yourself.
Yes,
Mm.
yeah. Compassionate, self-compassionate Christmas.
Hmm.
Let's make that a hashtag.
Yes.
Oh, thanks, Jane.
Pleasure.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Beyond the Surface. I hope you found today's conversation as insightful and inspiring as I did. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with others who might benefit from these stories. Stay connected with us on social media for updates and more content. I love connecting with all of you. Remember, no matter where you are in your journey, you're not alone. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep moving forward. Take care.